So the second part of chapter 7 is market efficiency. So market efficiency is to pursue the biggest economic surplus as possible. So here, an efficient outcome yields the largest possible economic surplus. And the first one, efficient production, it is defined as producing a given quantity of output at the lowest possible cost. Okay. So what does that mean? Let's look at this example. So here, if the market price is $2, and we have the first firm whose marginal cost is depicted by the blue line, the second firm whose marginal cost is depicted by the red line. So when the price equals to 2, the first firm should produce 3, and the second firm should produce 7. So let's look at another alternative scenario. What if we ask the first firm to produce 4 units and the second firm to produce 6 units? Let's look at the first firm. When the first firm produces 4 units, because of increasing marginal cost, and this first firm is asked to produce more than 3, so its marginal cost is higher than 2. What does that mean? That means from 3 to 4, during this level of production, what happens is their cost, the marginal cost, the cost of producing each additional unit of product within this range will be more costly than $2 each. But what they can get is $2 because that's the market price. So the consequences for the level of production between 3 millions of pounds and 4 millions of pounds, each additional pound that they produce, this firm is losing money because the cost is higher than the revenue, right? The revenue is not enough to cover its cost. And let's look at the second firm. Instead of producing 7, in which case the marginal cost will be just equal to the market price, here we asked the second firm to only produce 6. What happens? Well, yes, the marginal cost is lower than the price. So for each additional pound they produce, they can make more money. Yes, but the thing is, between 6 and 7, firm 2 actually could have made more profit. Because still, between 6 and 7, you see their revenue is $2, which comes from the market price, and their marginal cost is lower than $2. So for each pound they produce, they could have made more profit, but they didn't. So as you see, this is actually a fabulous example to show you for suppliers, their best decision is to make enough product so that their marginal cost is just the market price. Any deviation from that, it's either they are producing too much so that the cost exceeds the revenue so that they're losing money, or they produce too less so that they left some profit unobtained. So that's the issue. Okay. And there are several other scenarios, but here the key thing is scenario A represents the proficient production, which is that each firm should produce enough, just enough, so that their marginal cost equalizes to the market price. And here is a takeaway. Market distribute production across firms in a way that minimizes costs. And a competitive market ensures each unit is being produced by the supplier who can do so at the lowest possible marginal cost. Okay. So that's this. And the second one is allocation. So that's, in our understanding, market has 2 sides, supplier and consumer. And here now we tend to consumers. So production efficiency or efficient production is to govern producers. And this one, allocation is to govern consumers. So that is to say, allocating goods to create the largest economic surplus. So that requires each good goes to the person who will get the highest marginal benefit from it. Think as this as a bidding, right? If it is a fair bidding, whoever can bid the most can accept the highest price, right, gets the product. And whoever is willing to offer the highest price, that indicates that they have a highest marginal benefit, because the price that they offer should not exceed that marginal benefit. For instance, I'm using this computer right now. My value for this computer is $1,000. If it is a bid, 1,000 would be the highest that I place, right, for this bid. So that's this. And now let's look at this example. Again, market price is $2, and we have two people, Gabriel and Peter, right? The first one, Gabriel, is the blue line, and the second one, Peter's demand is the red line. Here it said marginal benefit, but recall marginal benefit is actually depicted by the demand function, namely the demand curve, right? So let's look at an alternative case. In scenario B, if Gabriel gets 4 pounds and Peter gets 6 pounds, what happens? Well, if Gabriel gets 4 pounds, right, their willingness to pay is 1.5, but the market price is higher than this, right? So within this 3 to 4, this consumer is actually, what happens to this consumer is that this consumer is getting too much. I have too much of this good. I don't have such a strong need of it. Therefore, my willingness to pay for this good is lower because I've already had enough. But the market still demands me to pay $2. So from 3 to 4, what happens is I'm spending $2 to buy something that I value less than $2. If I'm rational, that shouldn't have happened. So that's the first one. And the second one is, what if Peter only gets 6 pounds? Well, Peter's willingness to pay, Peter's marginal benefit is 2.2, higher than 2. That means, yes, from this deal, from this transaction, yes, I'm willing to get this at $2.2, but the market only charges me $2. Yes, it's a steal for me. But the thing is, can Peter do better? The answer is yes, right? By buying more product from 6 to 7, Peter could have been better off. The thing is, again, the benefit exceeds the cost, which is market price. Excuse me. So that is also the case. So here again, as you see, if consumers' purchase deviates from the market price, right? The result is either they are purchasing too much than what too much, so that the product is unworthy than the market price, or they bought too little so that they could have made more extra surplus from this transaction, from buying more. Okay, so the consequence is scenario A is efficient allocation, in which Gabriel just buys 3 units and Peter just buys 7 units, so that their marginal benefit is just the price. So here, the takeaway is markets allocates goods to those with the highest marginal benefit, and this ensures that markets allocates the goods in such a way as to generate the largest possible economic surplus. We don't have any lost surplus. We don't have any unobtained surplus. Lost surplus is when, like we said, when Gabriel bought too much, and unobtained surplus is when Peter bought too little. So these are the two sides for the two sides of the market, how they can achieve efficient outcomes. So efficient quantity is the quantity that produces the largest possible economic surplus. And the rational rule for market is to produce more of a good if its marginal benefit is greater than or equal to the marginal cost. So here, let's look at the entirety of the market when the supply and demand meets each other. So here, again, just to remind, supply curve also represents marginal cost and demand curve also represents marginal benefit. So to the left of the market equilibrium point, that's where the marginal benefit exceeds the marginal cost. So the production will keep on until this equilibrium point where marginal benefit just equal to marginal cost. To the right of it, we're going to mention later, what happens is the marginal cost is higher than marginal benefit. Should we do that? If rational, we shouldn't. The reason for that is the cost of producing each product is, say here, $200, but consumer only value this good as $100, right? Even if you produce it, nobody's gonna buy it. So production should not take place, should not exceed Q star, should just be at Q star. And then the total economic surplus would be this entire triangle. If we draw a price line to separate this triangle into two, the upper triangle should be consumer surplus, the lower triangle should be producer surplus. So we will produce until marginal benefit equal to marginal cost. That's when supply curve intersects with demand curve. So that's two. And the third one is market failure. So we introduce several cases where the market is not efficient. The market will not achieve that market equilibrium, the efficient point where the economic surplus is at its highest possible level. Namely, the economic pie is the biggest possible level. Okay, so there are several definitions. There are several concepts. The first one is market power. So market power means competitive pressure. Think about monopoly, right? If a firm is the only one on the monopoly side of the market, what happens is this firm now can lay back and relax, and knowing that all consumers will be going to them anyways, right? Then there will be quality deterioration. There could be quantity suppressed, right? Because they know they put down the quantity, consumers would purchase more, would be willing to bid higher for them, right? So that's the overall result is less than the efficient quantity is going to be produced. Namely, there is underproduction. So the production will be less than the efficient point. So that's the first thing, market power. We're going to talk more about this near the end of this semester as we introduce market structures. So the second one is externality. Externality arises whenever the choice that buyers seller make have side effects on others. For instance, if someone decides to smoke a cigarette near you, then you experience annoying side effect of secondhand smoke. But the thing is, if they are not banned, right? Probably even if you ask them, hey, could you not smoke near me? I have allergy or whatever. They may say, there is no law bans me from that, and they're gonna still do that. So the consequence of that is they overproduce the smoke than the due level, right? So when this negative side effect are not taken into consideration, more than efficient quantity ends up getting bought and sold. That's why, in countries where environmental protection laws are laxly implemented or lacked, we observe excessive production of those toxic products. Okay. So the third one is information problems. So information undermines trust, and then there will be under production, right? The production will be lower than the equilibrium level, which is the ideal level. So, for instance, if seller knows more about the quality of a used car than you do, you might wonder why they're selling it, and then you're gonna hold your pocket tight and you don't dare to buy it. That's the third one. And the fourth one is irrationality. Sometimes irrationality leads to bad decisions. Maybe we have little understanding of what is going on, so we can't be that rational all the time. And then our purchase and selling may be higher or lower than the equilibrium point, causing deviation and causing the market not be cleared, okay, not be optimized. So the last one is government. The command and order of the government may impede market forces. For instance, tax may lead to lower quantities being bought and sold. Price ceiling and price floor can also lead to lower quantity being bought and sold. And don't forget, governmental decisions have latency, right? So they may. That's why sometimes we question about governmental interference, because they may not give the right dosage of the correct medicine at the right time. Okay. So that may cause the market to deviate again, lower or higher from the equilibrium point. And the last and most important knowledge point to introduce is deadweight loss. So deadweight loss is the economic surplus at efficient outcome minus at the actual economic surplus. And it is the consequence of deviation from the market equilibrium, from the optimal point. Okay, so the market equilibrium is the optimal point. And if you deviate from that, deadweight loss is the consequence. The consequence is that we have less economic surplus. The economic pie is lost. So let's look at several examples. Example one, if there is a ban, if there is a quota, okay, or if there is a plan, let's say, that's why also we mentioned the planned economy is not as good as market economy. There is a reason. Say the market is being artificially required that the production is at this level, which is lower than the efficient quantity, which is market equilibrium. So what happens is originally the entire triangle will be obtained if the market is let to operate by its own. But now after this artificial interference or control, what happens is we would only have this much as our equilibrium. Still, say if the price is somewhere in between, then the upper wedge is gonna be the consumer surplus. The lower wedge is gonna be the supplier's surplus, the producer surplus. The thing is, even if they could have made more money, they could have made more surplus from producing more, you are not allowed to produce that much, right? So that could also be a problem of governmental intervention if the governmental officers had a misunderstanding of the market and wrongfully made their decision so that the quantity is controlled at this level. Again, we lose some surplus that we could have obtained if we let the market operate on its own. So that's the first one. Excuse me. The second one is overproduction. If now the central planner or the government orders the production to be at this level, with their interference. What happens is, yes, we obtained the entirety of the triangle here, but for each product that is required to be produced in excess to the efficient quantity, what happens is the marginal cost exceeds the marginal benefit. So here, cost is 102, benefit is 98. Here, cost is 108, benefit is 95. You see, the more we overproduce, the bigger the deficit will be created. And all those deficits will be accumulated and will be also taken into account as we are calculating the total surplus of the society. And then that will undermine the social welfare. So this purple triangle is referred to as the Deadweight loss. That is the product that shouldn't have been produced if we let the market operate on its own. And the production of this causing deficit. So market failure actually point to a potential positive role for government. Sometimes we need the government to restore if there is a market failure so as to recover to this efficient point. But sometimes we should also bear in our mind that government are composed of people who may have nearsightedness in their tunnel vision, in their stuff like that. So it may, it may give the economy, it may tries to heat up the economy when the economy is having a fever and try to cool down the economy when the economy is already being cold. So that is the general concepts to understand about the potential failures, and the consequence of that failure is Deadweight loss. Thank you very much.